Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to start with the Christmas Truce. That's a class 8 chapter from Buzzword, Orient, Blackswan. That is the publisher. The story is written by Aaron Shepard. Now it's almost like a letter. So let's start with it. Now before going ahead, I would like to suggest you that you should watch this video in the landscape mode and with a higher resolution so that the words can look clear and you can understand it in a much better way. And if you haven't subscribed my channel, please subscribe my channel and share it with others as well. So let's start this lesson. So this piece is set during the World War One, and it actually highlights, it shows the beauty of unlikely friendship. Unlikely means which cannot happen again and again, and fellowship. So the respect that is given between soldiers that cannot happen again and again. You might be aware about the Russian and Ukraine war, like what they are doing and how they are actually killing each other. So it is a British soldier's letter to his sister. Now one more lesson is there. The best Christmas present. The best Christmas present is in the class 8 NCRT book, and that is also written by the British captain Jim Macpherson to his wife Connie, and it also shows the same highlights, same information. So this soldier's letter is all about what actually happened and how the German soldiers and the British soldiers celebrated Christmas together. So the day is given over here is Christmas Day 1914. My dear sister Janet. Now here the name is actually described. His sister name was Janet. It is 2 in the morning and most of our men are asleep in their dugouts. So it's 2 a.m. in the morning and all the men are asleep. They are actually sleeping right now in their dugouts. A dugout is a kind of a shelter they actually made by digging a hole in the ground. So he could not sleep before writing about what actually happened on Christmas Eve. So he just wanted to share all the information that he has seen. In reality, it's almost seemed like a fairy tale which cannot be real. So he was just saying that if I were not here, then no one could believe it that this happened. And he was saying that the sister and the whole family actually sang carols before the fire in London, and what he was doing the same thing with the enemy soldiers with whom they are actually fighting, and on the battlefields of France. So the battlefields of France, it actually signifies the space, the place where they were actually fighting. As he was writing this, there has been little serious fighting of late. Both sides are holding back until replacements come from home. So replacement means a fresh ammunition, means all the bullets and artillery shells which needs to be replaced. And they were actually staying away in their trenches and waiting. And what a terrible waiting it has been, knowing that any moment an artillery shell might land and explode beside us, killing or injuring several of us. So, even though if they have to wait, still there is danger. Anything can happen at any point of time. Artillery shell, it means like a bullet or any kind of a bomb that can hit. And in daylight, not daring to lift our heads above the ground for fear of getting hit. So in the daytime also they cannot just look, just take out their head out of their dugs and see what is actually happening, because at any point of time a bullet can hit any soldier's head. Also, it has been raining every day, and at that point of time the soldier was explaining that because of the rain also they are actually facing lots of issues, because they have to bail means they have to pour out the water, take out the water with pots and pans what they were actually having from their trenches. and the rain has made the trenches actually muddy, very slippery, and the water and the mud gets stuck in their boots as well. So that used to happen a lot. Through all this, what they can do actually, we could not help feeling curious about the German soldiers across the way. So at that point of time, when they are waiting, they cannot think of something else, but they were thinking about the German soldiers as well. Okay, so they also facing the same kind of problems, the same kind of dangers, and they are also in the same muck. Muck means in the same soil. The mud actually, because of rain, it is getting very sleepy and muddy. So what's more, their first range is only 50 yards from ours. So just 50 yards away, there are German soldiers, and between them is no man's land. So no man's land is a concept. It is actually controlled by neither of the countries. So you can say about this is an international boundary. Now both sides there are barbed wires. Barbed wires means very short and they have spikes. You might have seen that in parks as well, or in some properties where they do not want any trespassers. Yet they were close enough. We sometimes heard their voices because of the silence. If they are nothing is happening actually, then they can even hear their voices as well. And of course, the British soldiers actually hate German soldiers a lot because they have killed their friends, and it is vice versa. It is also same for German soldiers as well, that they also do not like the English soldiers. And at some point of time they also joke about them, and at some point they also think that they have something very common. So now the soldier actually told about his sister about what actually happened yesterday morning, the Christmas on the Christmas Eve day, when they actually got their first froze or freeze. Now it means like when the weather or the temperature actually goes below 0 degrees, and everything will froze. The mud, actually the soil also will get frozen up. Everything was white, and the bright sun was also there, which was like shining over everything, and it was almost like a perfect Christmas weather for them. During the day, there was a little shelling. Shelling means firing, which was happening from both the sides. And as darkness fell, means the evening and the night actually came, the shooting stopped suddenly, and there was complete silence, which actually never happened in last few months. And they hoped that it promised a peaceful holiday. So it was Christmas Eve, or obviously now the Christmas actually, it was the Christmas night, but didn't count on it. But they were not trusting on it. They were aware, and they had a hint like the Germans might attack them when they are unprepared, when they are not ready to fight at this point of time, because it's a holiday, right? The soldiers also thinking of to celebrate the Christmas. Then the soldier actually went to his dugout so that he can get some rest and sleep. And suddenly, actually, he drifted off. He got a suddenly he actually fell asleep, and after a while John actually suddenly shook him, means he shaked him and told him like, see what is actually going on, the Germans what they are doing. So he suddenly grabbed his rifle. He thought that the fight actually started, the war actually started again, and he just peeped out from above the sandbags, and he was like completely shocked in bewilderment. Bewilderment means in confusion. So he was confused. What is actually happening? What is it? Everything was actually shining there. And John answered him that this is Christmas trees, and they have placed the Christmas trees in front of their trenches and put a candle or lantern on it, which actually shows like beacons of goodwill. So beacons is actually a symbol. Goodwill means friendly or helpful nature, and it shows that they were actually want to celebrate Christmas with them. And then they started singing the carols Stille Nash, Heilig Nash, which actually means like silent night and holy night, translated by John because he knew German, and the Britishers might not be familiar with this language. So he has never heard this so meaningful and mellifluous song that was able to hear by them in this clear night and in this darkness. The the British soldiers actually started uploading them. This is the first time that the enemy is actually uploading for others. And they also started singing and joined the German soldiers. So the first carol that the Britishers actually sang for them, the first novel, The Angel Did Say. So these are all the carols and songs which are sung on the day of Christmas. So the soldier was saying the same thing, like in reality, they were not quite good and harmonious like the Germans, but they responded enthusiastic applause. So the Germans were also quite applauding the Britishers as well, and they again started "O Tannenbaum" and "O Tannenbaum." This one is a German one, and then the English actually replied with "O come all ye faithful." So it was like a almost like a duet which is going on one by one. So at this point of time, they also started singing them in the Latin, Adisti Fidelis, and then the British and German all were singing all together on the No Man's Land, and they would have never thought that something can happen in reality. And the next thing was quite shocking. They actually shouted, "English, come over. You know shoot, we know shoot." So they heard them shouting this thing, and everyone actually looking at each other in bewilderment. Again, they were confused how it can be possible. And then one of the British soldiers shouted, "You come over." And to their astonishment, they found the figures actually rising above from their trenches and crossing and climbing over the barbed wires and coming and across the no man's land. Now, one of them called, "Send officer to talk." So, before they do such things, their the captain or the main officer should have a talk regarding it. But the British soldiers actually they were also ready. One of the soldier and others also did the same thing. Like they actually lift his lift their rifles actually. But the captain actually called out, "Hold your fire," means stop, to not do anything. Then he climbed out and actually met the German soldier halfway. Then they heard about talking, and after a few minutes, the captain actually back and announced that we have agreed. Now they actually had a truce now that there will be no shooting before midnight tomorrow, so that they can enjoy the Christmas. And the other soldiers they have to remain on duty, and the rest of us also should stay alert. If anything goes wrong, that they should be also ready. So this is the first time actually happening something like this. Across the way, the groups of two or three are actually starting coming out from their trenches and meeting the English soldiers. And in minutes, there were no man's land. So the boundary actually got covered with both the enemies. So this is also very unique. The boundaries are created by us, and we can also eradicate these kind of boundaries. Over 100 soldiers and officers are actually shaking hand with each other, whom they were ready to kill just hours earlier. And they actually set a bonfire as well, and around it you can see the British khaki. So the British word is related with the khaki. Khaki is Indian cloth, and the German grey. And only a couple of the English soldiers actually knew about German or German language. But the thing was, the German actually knew English very well. So he asked one of the German, "How you know the English so well?" And they have said that they have worked in England. Most of them actually have worked in England, and they have lived. So before this, I was a waiter, one of the soldier actually claimed. So the English soldier replied, "Perhaps I waited at your table, might be I was waiting at there." And the German again said the same thing and laughing, "Perhaps you did. You might be waiting." Then he told him that he had a girlfriend in London and the plans of marriage actually interrupted, means disrupted by the war. But at that point of time, the English soldier actually suggested that do not worry, once they will beat them by Easter, then they can come back to London and marry the girl. The German actually laughed at that point of time and he actually gave him a postcard so that he can send it to her. Another German also worked as a porter at Victoria Station and he showed his family picture, which is actually residing in Munich. His elder sister was lovely and he told him that he would like to meet his family. So he gave the address. The German soldier actually gave his address to the English one. Even those who cannot converse, means they cannot talk or they cannot communicate, they still exchange some gifts. So Christmas, you know, and you are aware that it is all about the gifts and celebration. So they exchange their tea for their coffee, corned meat for their sausages, badges and buttons actually change uniforms and honors. So all of them were exchanging their things, and one of the English boys actually walking off with a spiked helmet, and he himself, the soldier, actually traded a jackknife. A jackknife is a kind of a knife which can be folded into the hands, and he exchanged it with a leather equipment belt. That was a fine souvenir. Souvenir means something which is quite unique and can remind you of something, of a person or place. As it grew late, they actually traded more songs around the fire, and all of them actually joined in. Then they parted. They actually went away with a promise to meet again. And there was even some discussion which was going on to play a football match. Now, here it is not described about the football match, but actually in reality it happened. And in the class 8 NCRT notebook, it is given that they played a football match actually, and the Britishers, I think the Britishers actually won the match. So when the English soldier was going back to his trench, an older German soldier actually hold his hand and told, "My God, why cannot we have peace and all can go home?" And he told him gently, "Then you must ask your emperor." So he said, like, you should ask your emperor why he is actually starting the fight. And then he actually looked at me searchingly and said, "Perhaps, my friend, we should look at our hearts as well." So at this point of time, he said to his sister now that has there been such a Christmas even in history? So this is the first time a truce actually happened, like the enemies are enjoying together. So they all are same. The human beings are all same. They all are uh, have the same body, same group, same shape, same thinking style, but still they are fighting each other. Beside, they have to be stopped and send it away. So they cannot avoid their duty. So they are actually have some duties to protect their country. So nothing can be done in that part. And he even told this thing that once all the nations will get to know what actually happened here, disputes will arise. So they were all aware that it won't happen again in time. And in reality, a treaty actually made by many countries and their armies that they should not celebrate any kind of festival with their enemies again. So after this incident, actually, most of the countries have made a kind of a they have made a kind of a rule in their nation that no army should celebrate with their enemies again. At last, he just said that the leaders should offer good wishes rather than warnings, songs rather than insults, gift in place of reprisals. Reprisals क्या होता है? Retaliation. So rather than attacking, they should send gifts, and this will end all wars in the whole world, and all the nations can enjoy, and all the families can enjoy. So everyone actually want peace, but what they are doing right now to get peace, they are actually killing each other. So he was just wondering that if we want it quite enough, then they have to work on it. And on this Christmas morning, they actually celebrated with each other and they enjoyed a lot.